This video mainly discusses the incident involving Crown Princess Mette-Marit's eldest son, Marius, who was arrested earlier this month for assaulting a female companion. The incident occurred in Norway during the night of the 3rd and the early morning of the 4th, and there have been ongoing developments since then. On the night of August 3rd into the early hours of August 4th, Marius and his girlfriend got into a heated argument at an apartment in Oslo. Marius smashed up the apartment and violently assaulted her. The victim managed to calm him down and get him to leave the apartment before calling a friend for help and contacting the police. A few hours later, Marius was arrested at his home near Skagum. He was detained for 30 hours. The victim was diagnosed with a concussion, but fortunately, her injuries were not severe, and she was discharged from the hospital on the 5th. Marius, through his lawyer, has also made a statement to the media, revealing that he suffers from multiple mental health issues and has long struggled with substance abuse, and is currently undergoing treatment. Following this serious incident, Marius Borge Hybe faces preliminary charges of personal injury and criminal damage, with a potential maximum sentence of 1 year in prison. After the incident involving her eldest son, Crown Princess Mette-Marit delayed her trip to Paris to attend the Olympics, spending 2 extra days before eventually arriving. She and Crown Prince Haakon returned to Norway before the closing ceremony to deal with related matters. Crown Prince Haakon, who watched the games alone for a few days, was approached by journalists but could only comment that the situation was serious and he was not in a position to provide further details. This is a photo taken by Norwegian media showing the scene where a knife was thrust into the wall, which was very frightening, though fortunately, no one was hurt. Let's introduce the person involved. Marius Borge Hybe, born in 1997, is the child of Crown Princess Mette-Marit of Norway from before her marriage. Mette-Marit and Marius's father, Morten Borge, not only never married but were not even in a serious relationship, having merely dated briefly. By the time Marius was born, Morten was already imprisoned for drug trafficking, and Mette-Marit became a single mother. As a result, Marius carries his mother's surname, with Borge as his middle name. During her teenage years and early 20s, Mette-Marit was surrounded by a highly adverse environment. Her biological father, Marius's father, and a former fiancé with whom she had considered marriage were all involved in legal issues, and she displayed significant rebellious behavior during this period. Things started to improve for Mette-Marit after the birth of Marius when she moved back to Kristiansand, where she had lived as a child. She first began a relationship with a DJ, whose name is unknown but was a respectable individual with no legal issues. Later, as many know, she reconnected with Crown Prince Haakon of Norway, whom she had previously met, and they developed a romantic relationship that eventually led to marriage. In 2001, she officially joined the royal family, and with Marius, she changed her destiny. For Haakon, although Marius is not related to him by blood, he is treated as if he were his child in terms of affection. Since he began his relationship with Mette-Marit, he has consistently included Marius as a member of the family, frequently taking him along. Even more likely, to allow him time to adjust, Haakon and Mette-Marit waited over a year after their marriage before having children. In January 2004 and December 2005, Marius welcomed a half-sister and a half-brother, Princess Ingrid Alexandra and Prince Sverre Magnus, respectively. Until adulthood, Marius regularly attended various public events for the Norwegian royal family. Although he had no royal bloodline or official title, he was considered an important member of the royal family, and at least on the surface, the Norwegian royal family treated him as one of their own. In contrast, Marius's biological father, Morten Borge, appeared only occasionally and most likely did not have a close relationship with his son. By the way, Morten Borge later married interior designer Celine McTaby, with whom he had a son. This marriage lasted for 15 years before ending in 2019. Although Marius primarily lived with his biological mother and her later husband, his biological father's ex-wife, Celine, publicly stated that she considered herself a second mother to Marius. She treated all 3 children, Marius, her son from a previous relationship, and her son with Morten Borge, equally. In 2022, Morten and Marius attended Celine's father's funeral, and Marius was visibly moved and shed tears. This likely indicates two things. 1. Morton and Celine parted on good terms, and 2. Celine and her father treated Marius well. With a mother leading a chaotic life and a father entangled in legal issues, Marius's early life appeared to be filled with turmoil. However, due to his mother Meta-Marit marrying into royalty, his circumstances improved, providing him with a more favorable environment. Even his once hopeless biological father eventually normalized his life, getting married, having children, and working in the advertising industry without further legal troubles. Looking back at Marius's developmental trajectory, it is evident that he began to exhibit signs of deviation as he matured. Marius attended Santa Monica College in the United States for only a few months before dropping out and not completing his studies. At the age of 20, he claimed to have become self-sufficient and withdrawn from public life. However, his career path has been erratic, including roles as a sales representative, fashion consultant, and mechanic, but he has not achieved notable success in any of these fields. Even in 2017, at the age of 20, Marius encountered legal troubles and was arrested for cocaine use. At that time, the news reported that paying a fine of 4,000 Norwegian kroner resolved the issue. In the same year, Marius claimed he would study at Santa Monica College in Los Angeles, but he returned after only a few months. Since then, he has not been involved in any notable news. He did not appear at his brother's coming-of-age ceremony or the public celebration of his mother's and stepfather's 50th birthdays. The last event related to the Norwegian royal family he attended was a vacation together last summer. Compared to his disordered academic and professional life, Marius has attracted more public attention in recent years due to his relationships. The victim in the current case was referred to as Marius's girlfriend by him, but the victim's lawyer denies that they were in a romantic relationship. Norwegian media later investigated and found that Marius had recently driven an unknown woman to the Skagen Palace, where his mother and stepfather reside, leading to speculation that she might be the victim. After the incident, Marius Borge Heiberg's former girlfriend, 29-year-old model Julianne Snekkerstad, posted a statement on Instagram, claiming that she had experienced psychological and physical abuse during their relationship, which has further darkened the case. Unfortunately, this is not the first scandal involving the former motorcycle mechanic. In February 2023, his then-girlfriend, Nora Hawkland, was photographed holding a bag filled with a white powder, which local media speculated to be cocaine. In summary, despite being supported by the Norwegian royal family for over 20 years, Marius has achieved nothing and has become a problematic individual, one who abuses drugs and alcohol, habitually emotionally abuses his girlfriend, and even resorts to violent outbursts. Initially, I wondered if this behavior might be attributed to his father's criminal background, but after researching, I found that while his father has not been exemplary, he has not engaged in criminal activities in recent years, and there are no reports of him being violent towards his partners. Marius's mother, Meta-Marit, also had a troubled upbringing, surrounded by negative influences and even being chased with a knife by a former fiancé. Despite these challenges, she did not continue down a path of decline. After becoming a mother, she made the decision to leave her unfavorable environment, worked hard to support her child, and eventually found a remarkable and widely admired marriage. Perhaps many believe that Marius should never have been born, and Meta-Marit might also feel a sense of guilt towards her eldest son, which led her to be especially lenient and indulgent after marrying into the royal family. However, despite having ample resources, money, and love to change his fate, and despite not being mistreated by others, Marius's excuses about his troubled upbringing, his father's poor character, and his mother's indulgence seem somewhat laughable. At nearly 30 years old, he should be taking responsibility for his own life. As Julian's mother said, even with a troubled childhood and a diagnosis of mental health issues, these cannot justify treating others poorly.